Okay, this next unit deals with statistics, which is actually um, very valuable to have some knowledge of because of, well, we live in an information society where you're bombarded with information all the time. And, it's a question of, is this information that you're receiving all the time accurate, or is there a problem with it? Because a lot of times people are trying to convince you of things so that they can use information to sort of twist information to kind of get you to see their point of view or get you to follow their point of view. So statistics is a branch of math that deals with collecting information, analyzing it, and then coming up with conclusions from it. And information is what another word for information we use in statistics is data. Okay, so you've seen examples all over the place. We're in the middle of a federal election right now. There's polls that come out every day saying which party is ahead. That's all based on statistics. Okay? So if the Liberals have 42%, Conservatives have 36%, the NDP has 9% or whatever it is. Okay? All of this is based on collecting information and coming up with those numbers. So you have to have some sort of, like I said, some sort of understanding, okay, to help you make some informed decisions. We're going to keep it pretty simple with statistics. So we're going to talk about a few things. The first thing we're going to talk about are what are called measures of central tendency. So if we've got a group of numbers that represent something, like let's say we've got the incomes of all adults in Canada, and we want to find what's the number that's kind of in the middle, because that's usually an interesting number to know, right? Because it kind of tells us, okay, the average person or the middle person makes this much. Now, there's different ways that we can talk about how to find the middle, and there's three main ways. This first one you should be familiar with, called mean, but you've always known it as average. And you guys have seen average before. And here's where it can help you make informed decisions. Like if you say, let's say Mrs. McDonald is going through your university admissions with you and says to you, okay, so right now your average when you're applying is 68%. And I'm sure all of you would go, what? That doesn't sound right. Okay, so clearly there must have been some error there. Okay, having a knowledge of statistics will help you say, what? There's a problem. That doesn't sound right. Okay. So the average is what we get when we add all the numbers in a set together and divide by how many there are. Okay. So we've seen that, and you guys have seen that in previous grades. But in statistics, we call it the mean. So here we have a set of marks, and we are asked to find the mean. So to find the mean, I just take these 5 marks, add them all together, and divide by how many there are, and there are 5. And when I do that, I get 370 over 5, which works out to 74. So even though there's not a mark of 74, that's sort of the center of your distribution of test scores, okay? Called the average. Now, the average is used most of the time, but sometimes it's not very accurate. So for example, let's take something really simple. Let's say there's 4 of you in here, you wrote a quiz on something, and each of you scored 10 out of 10. What's the average? Sorry? Oh, yeah, 10 or 10. 10 out of 10, right. Okay. And let's say a 5th person decided to come in here and write the test. And they got 0. What's the average now? Well, add these up, divide by how many there are. Not 50. Yeah.
Oh,
8. Yes. One person decreased the average by 2 whole marks, or if you think about it in percent, 20%. Okay. Now, does it make sense to say that, well, okay, the middle number of these, or the person on average, everybody scored 80 or 8 out of 10. Doesn't really make sense because 4 of them got like aced it. Like it seems to make more sense that the center should be higher. Yes, we have to account for that one person who, perhaps didn't even take the class, just came in and decided to write a test or quiz for a joke. Okay, and ended up getting nothing on it. So there's another measure that we can use. Okay? And that's called the median. The median is actually the middle number in a set of data. But the data has to be arranged from smallest to largest. So for example, here's this thing here, the same 4 pieces of information. We saw above the mean was 74. To find the median, we have to list these, and usually we list them from smallest to largest. So that's the first thing we have to do, 67, 72, 75, 78, and 78. Now that they are arranged in order, which test score is in the middle? 75. Right? If we had a set of 5 numbers, the third one would be the one in the middle. Okay? So the median is just equal to 75. Notice it's a little bit higher than the mean. Still pretty close to each other, but a little bit higher. But here, like if you think about it, the median might be a better measure here. Because what's the median in this list? 10. Right? Which kind of makes more sense because the majority of students scored 10 out of 10 on this. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later on. When is it, like, which ones are appropriate to use when? And we're going to find that if there's extreme values in a set, median is better. Because the average, if you have like a group that are fairly close to each other and one that's really high, the average is going to get pulled up because of that really high number. If you have a bunch that are kind of close to each other and one that's really low, like we did above, it's going to pull down the average. It doesn't really do that to the median, which is why in some cases the median is a better measure. So how do you find the middle number? It depends on how many numbers are in the set. if the total number of numbers is odd. Okay. Number of numbers divided by 2 and round up. So like this one, 5 divided 2 is 2.5, round up to 3. That means the third one is the middle. This works well when there's a really big list. So like if I said 47 numbers, 47 divided 2 is 23.5, round up to 24. So the 24th one is the middle. That's a quick way to find it. Like I said, especially when if there's the total number of numbers in a set is fairly large. If the total numbers is even, that's a little different because now all of a sudden there's not one number in the middle. There are 2 numbers in the middle. So if you think about it, you don't have to write this down, but if we had, say, 72, 75, 78, 78, so we know the third one's in the middle. Let's say we added another one. That means there are 2 numbers in the middle. And to find the median, we have to take the average of those 2. Okay? So if there's 2 numbers in them, if the total number of numbers is even, number of numbers divide 2. So 6 divided 2 would be 3, and the next one. So the third and the fourth would be in the middle. So this would be the first middle number. Here, and then add 1 to get the second middle number. So yeah, like I said, if it's 6, 6 divided 3 is 3 6 divided 2 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So the third and fourth ones are in there. We're gonna do one on the next page where there's an even number of numbers. The last one, and this is probably in general the least accurate one, is the mode. The mode is the number that appears the most often. What number appears the most here? That's the mode. That's the ice. If all of these were different, there's no mode. If there was another one if there was another one added to this list with 75, there'd be 2 modes. You can see why it's not very accurate. It gives us kind of a ballpark measure of the center, but I mean, you know, what if the 2 instead of 78 was 67? That's pretty far off what the center is. Okay, but it's still one that's used. Okay, so now that we know all 3, let's look at these numbers. We've got 6 in a set. Should be a comma separating this. We're asked to find the mean, median, and mode. So you guys should be able to for the mean, we're just going to add them all up and divide by how many there are. There's 6. Let me know when you got it. It depends. Is it a really long set of decimals?
It's supposedly 106.16.
Yeah, let's round to one decimal place. So 106.2. That's fine. Yeah, if it's a really long string, round to one or two decimal places. To find the median, we have to put the numbers in order first. So that's kind of a pain with the median. You have to make sure the numbers are in order before you can actually state the median. So let's go lowest to highest. We've got 2 at 96. The next one would be 102. The next one would be 107. And then 118. And then 118 again. There is an even number of numbers in this set. That means there's 2 in the middle. What 2 numbers are in the middle? 2 and 107. So to find the median of those 2, you got to take the average. In other words, add them, divide by 2. 104.5. Good. And the mode? Yeah, it'd be 2 of them, right? Which is not really that informative. I mean, these 2 give us a better idea of the center of the data than the mode does. That just shows you right there. Okay. Grade 12 class with 15 students was told to determine the number of TV sets they had in their homes. These are the results the students provided. Somebody actually had 8. All right. So after these results were in, one of the students said, okay, the median's 1. What do you think the student did? Look at the data. What do you think the student did? What's that? No. Remember, how do you find the median? It's the middle number, right? Doesn't it look like there's a 1 in the middle? Here, it looks like they didn't arrange it in order. That's how they got 1. So the mistake was they didn't arrange the numbers in order. So in order to actually find the median, we got to do it in order. So make sure you keep track. There's 3 1s. I gotta cross them out as I do. How many 2s? 3 2s. 3 3s. 3 4s. Remember, there's 15 numbers in the set. Which number's in the middle? Okay, and like what position number? 8, right? Because 15 divided 2 is 7.5, round up. 8. So yes, the 8th one. And yeah, it's going to be 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's 3. Median's 3. What's the mode? 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, not very useful. But there could be some situations where it is. Okay, last question. In a small restaurant, the employees are trying to convince their manager they need a raise. The following diagram displays the salaries for each position. So the supervisors, 2 of them at 34 grand a year, bartenders, 3 of them at 26, 7 cooks at 31, 9 servers at 21, 2 hosts at 60. One employee states that the mean salary of all employees is 21,000. Another believes that the mean is 26,000. A further one disagrees and says it's 25,391 and 30. Which one is correct? Well, what are we going to do? We're going to have to add all these up, right? Or we can do it like this. Like instead of adding 7 31,000, just go 7 times 31,000. So we'll do 2 times 34,000 for the supervisors, plus 3 times 26,000 for the bartenders, plus 7 times 31,000 for the cooks, plus 9 times 21,000 for the servers, plus 2 times 16,000 for the hosts. How many are there? How many employees? $23? Yeah. So it is a fairly lengthy calculation, but you can do it. Yeah. $25,391.30 when you do it all. Which means that the third employee was right. What do you think the first employee did when they made the mistake saying it's 21,000? What do you think they found? There's 9 of them. The mode, right? They found the mode. Okay. The median would be higher than this because we'd have to go 16, 16, 9 of these, then 3 of these, then 7 of these, then 2 of these. So the median would probably be 26,000 if we were to ballpark it. Okay. So the first one found the mode. And the second found the median. Because if you think about it, for the median one, we got 23 employees, right? Which one is in the middle if we were to arrange them smallest to highest? What position? 23 divide 2 and round up. 12. So the 12th employee listed smallest salary to largest. So 2 of them here, right? 9 of them here, so that's 11. The 12th one must be a bartender. Okay, so that's how the second one got 26,000. That's how we can find it quickly, the median. Instead of having to write all of these things out in order. Okay. But here's an interesting thing. Which measure should the employees use
to signify they need a raise. Yeah, why?
Because it's on.
Because it's the highest. So in this one, the mode. The second one is the median. What am I talking about? Sorry, use the median. Thank you for correcting me. There we go. Yeah, because it's the highest. Highest number. Yeah, the employer would argue the mode because it's the lowest. Okay. That